This is the Louie T Network.
Man, I love some football. Man, I love some football. My favorite week is week 1, cause I'm watching football. First comes the preseason, and I don't take a day off. And then it gets even better when your team makes the playoffs. 32 teams go hard for one thing. They work for one thing. That Super Bowl ring. 32 teams go hard for one thing. They work for one thing. That Super Bowl ring. We in the lab room.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome. You are in the lab room, of course. I'm your host, Lou. Thank you for joining me. It is Tuesday here in the lab room, which means one thing. Of course, we've got a Monday night showcase to attend to. Monday Night Football, Indianapolis Colts, Philadelphia Eagles. It was a barn burner. It lived up to the hype. And remember, on the Friday edition of In the Lab Room, I told you that this was the second choice for the game of the week here in the Lab Room. Of course, the first choice being the Atlanta Falcons traveling out to Cincinnati, which turned out to be a dud. So, in effect, this was essentially the game of the week here. This was the marquee matchup in my mind. This was the game that was going to feature a lot of points being scored, a lot of back and forth, and all of those things happened exactly according to plan. And so this game turned out to be a dandy. Let's talk about how the Indianapolis Colts and Philadelphia Eagles came down to a last-second field goal. So you start first quarter, Eagles force a 3-and-out, and then get the football and go 11 plays, 69 yards, and end up with a field goal. Cody Parkey puts it on the board. It's 3-0. Eagles take the lead in this game. And if you're the Eagles, you knew that the Colts were going to score points in this game. You want to try to get touchdowns. If you can't, you got to be able to put 3 on the board. They were able to do that. It's 3-0 Philadelphia early in this football game. Indy responds on that second drive after the Eagles get the field goal. And they respond on the ground with the running backs doing a lot of the heavy lifting on this drive. And that was very odd because I felt like coming into this season, Andrew Luck would be the focal point of the offense. You go out, you get Hakeem Nicks to fortify the wide receiver position. Keep in mind that you have Reggie Wayne coming back. T.Y. Hilton exploded onto the landscape last year. So now you've got 3 viable options at receiver. Both of your tight ends are healthy now. And so you feel like you got 2 pass-catching tight ends, 3 receivers that all at one point or another were number 1 receivers in this league. So you put all of that together and you've got 5 targets for Andrew Luck to throw the football to that he trusts. Not to mention the backs out of the backfield. I just felt like Andrew Luck would be asked a little bit more of in terms of passing the football. But yet, in this game, it seemed like a lot of the focal point of the offense was centered around running the football. Maybe they saw something in the Eagles' rush defense that they felt like they could exploit. They went a lot of unbalanced line in this game and a lot of counters, a lot of attacking the Eagles on the weak side of their defense. And so it's a little funny looking at how this game played out. However, they did have success on the ground and they kept going to it. But it did backfire later on in the game, and we'll talk about that when we get there. But Eagles give it up on the ground on that second possession, and the Colts are able to use, and Trent Richardson, T-Rich, didn't look half bad last night, especially on that second possession. He was doing a lot of the heavy lifting along with Ahmad Bradshaw, who I think is ultimately going to end up being the bell cow running the football this season if he can stay healthy. He's such a violent and physical natured runner that he always ends up getting himself injured. If he can stay healthy, he's going to be the guy that the Colts turn to hand the football off to most often because of his productivity. Not because they want to, but because they have to, because he's going to be the guy that gets the job done more so than Trent Richardson. But nonetheless, they both get it done on that second drive, and they move the football down the field. Trent Richardson does put it on the carpet. However, Reginald Wayne was Johnny on the spot, pounced on the football, kept the drive alive for the Colts. They end up getting all the way down to the 1 yard line. It's 4th and goal from the 1. Big decision for head coach Chuck Pagano. He makes the right decision in my mind. Go for it on 4th down. Scare money, don't make money. And so this was a big one for me. Go for it. If you don't get it, hey, challenge the Eagles to go 99 yards on you. That's what he did. Play action fake. They find Ahmad Bradshaw wide open in the flats. Andrew Luck hits him. 7-3. Colts assume the lead in this game. Great play call and great drive by the Colts. Way to cap it off with a touchdown. You move on. Darren Sproles catches a 55-yard pass over the middle of the field and runs with it. And this is very frustrating. How dare the Indianapolis Colts put Josh McNary in such a compromising position? You cannot put him in one-on-one coverage with Darren Sproles, a.k.a. Mighty Mike. He's one of the most elusive and explosive running backs out of the backfield in the entire National Football League. Josh McNary, let alone any linebacker in this league, can stay with him one-on-one. How dare you put Josh McNary in a position to fail like that? And of course, he did fall flat on his face, 55 yards for Darren Sproles. Gets the Eagles into field goal range, but this time, Cody Parkey cannot connect on a 38-yard field goal as he misses, gives the Indianapolis Colts great field position, and the score remains 7-3 as we head to the second quarter. You move on, and the Colts put together another balanced drive. Again, running game being the focal point. Andrew Luck kind of complementing the rushing attack. They move it down the field, get into field goal range again. Now it's 10-3 as Adam Vinatieri knocks it home. Colts assume a 7-point lead in this game. Eagles respond, however, with another drive, but again, like the first two drives that got into Colts territory, they cannot get in the end zone, have to settle for another field goal. This time, Cody Parkey knocks it home. It's 10-6. Colts still in front. Andrew Luck and the Colts move the football back down the field, late stages of the second quarter. They get inside the 5-yard line, much like they did on that first possession, cannot run the football in. This time, they go play action fake. And instead of them going to the running back, they go to the tight end slash fullback slash H-back, Jack Doyle. Find him wide open in the end zone. Andrew Luck hits him. It's now 17-6. Indy on top as we go to the halftime break. And one more little nugget. Greg Toller with a magnificent interception right before the half as the Eagles tried to get some points back right before the half. And Greg Toller makes a magnificent stab on the football. Great coverage. Way to find the football. Picks it off. Dive and catch. Beautiful interception. Takes us to the halftime break. Colts up 11, 17-6. The second consecutive game the Eagles have fallen behind by double figures before the halftime break. And the second consecutive game, of course, that the Eagles come out of the halftime break down by 2 scores. So Eagles, again, creating bad habits for themselves early in these games. They did it last week against Jacksonville, and they did it again in this game. One has to think that at some point that magic will run out. But right now, it's really, really working well for the Eagles. But that is not a habit you want to continue to use because it is going to come back to haunt you if you are the Philadelphia Eagles. But nonetheless, we start the third quarter. As the Colts drive into Eagles territory and into the red zone, Bradley Fletcher has a chance to make a play. And I've got two things that are golden rules in the National Football League when you're on the road. And those 2 golden rules are simply take care of the football and take advantage of opportunities when they come your way on the road. That's it. You're a road team, you can't afford turnovers, and you can't afford to not take advantage of opportunities. You've already missed a field goal if you're the Eagles, and now Bradley Fletcher drops an interception in the end zone with the ability to take points off the scoreboard from this Colts offense. Got to take advantage of that. He did not, and the Colts ultimately get a field goal out of that possession. Now it's 20-6. So if you're the Eagles now, it's time to get busy. You're down 14 points. And again, this Colts offense, they can score. And in this game, they've shown you the propensity to be able to grind it out and eat up clock with the running game too. So if you're not careful, you could not see the ball for 6, 7, possibly 8 minutes at a time. If you don't start scoring and start scoring fast, this game could get out of control and get away from you, and you could lose this game on Monday Night Football and not even have it be close. So, Vontae Davis flagged for pass interference as the Eagles moved the football down the field. That pass interference took place in the end zone, puts the football at the 1-yard line. Shady McCoy gets in, hey, for a 1-yard touchdown run. It's now 20-13 as the Eagles narrow the gap, cut the lead to just a single touchdown. So they're right back in this game after all the struggles in the first half. Getting in the end zone, they finally do that here in the third quarter as the lead has been cut to 7. Trent Richardson puts it on the carpet once again. And like I said, you've got to make your breaks. On the road, you've got to take advantage of opportunities. He fumbled once before, you weren't able to get it. He fumbles again. This time, you're able to pounce on the football and take over deep in Indianapolis Colts territory. That's the way to force turnovers. And again, Trent Richardson making mistakes that cost this team. I told you it's not going to be long before they find out that Ahmad Bradshaw is the best option and start to give him the football a little bit more. But Trent Richardson fumbles for the second time in this game, and this is the first time they actually lose the football. Eagles recover, and it was a great play by Fletcher Cox to force the fumble. Eagles recover, and the Eagles are 3rd and 15. They're essentially giving up on the possession and willing to take a field goal. And these are the type of plays, if you're the Colts, you cannot have. 3rd and 15, Eagles, they give you a draw. They give up on the possession, give a draw. All you have to do is corral Shady. Now, I know that's easier said than done. One of the most elusive backs in the entire National Football League. But still, 3rd and 15, somebody just needs to grab this guy before he gets 16 yards or even 15 yards on this play. Instead, he rips off 21. They get 1st and goal, and then Darren Sproles gets a 19-yard pinball touchdown run. It's a gorgeous run. He's bouncing off of defenders, zigging in and out as only he can. He gets into the end zone, and now you look up at the scoreboard, and guess what? We got ourselves a tie ball game, folks. It's tied at 20, and that's what happens when you turn the football over. Indianapolis worked hard to build that 14-point lead. And in an instant, it evaporates, and now we got ourselves a tie ball game. We go to the fourth quarter, knotted up at 20. Colts cool off the Eagles. Remember, Eagles scored 14 unanswered points to tie this game up. So Colts really needed to get it done on this possession to kind of stem the tide a bit and turn it in their favor. And that's exactly what they did with a long, grinding drive, capped off with another Andrew Luck play action fake touchdown, his 3rd of the game. Once again, much like the first touchdown, play action fake to Ahmad Bradshaw, wide open in the flats. He hits him, walks in the end zone. It's now 27-20. Colts reassume the lead in this ball game. Big play, big drive for the Indianapolis Colts. At this point, I'm thinking to myself, I think you might have just sealed their fate in this game. That was a wonderful drive. Not a lot of time left on the clock after that drive either. After they get in the end zone, we're talking about every bit of 6 minutes, maybe a little bit more, 6 and some change left on the clock. So I'm thinking, the Eagles can score in the blink of an eye, but that one kind of took a lot out of them. I'm thinking you might have just got the Eagles in this game. And so Andrew Luck and the offense are able to get the football back because the defense is able to get a stop. And this was the backbreaker here. This was the play that changed the game right here. Andrew Luck picked off by Malcolm Jenkins as the Colts were bleeding the clock and in field goal range. So had they been able to put that field goal on the scoreboard, this game is effectively out of reach at 30-20, up 2 scores. there would have been less than 4 minutes left in this game at that point. The Eagles probably lose this game. But Malcolm Jenkins comes up with the play of the game. Now, you could argue that Brandon Boykins got away with pass interference, illegal contact at the least, because he was tugging on the jersey of T.Y. Hilton, who fell on the play. Andrew Luck was anticipating him running that Z out and getting back to the outside and getting to the football. Instead, he falls down because of Brandon Boykins' contact, and then the ball goes straight to Malcolm Jenkins and is picked off. But hey, no harm, no foul, no flag, no foul. Eagles get the football. Great tackle by Reggie Wayne, by the way, on that interception. If he doesn't make that tackle, it's a pick six. So now the Eagles are in business, got the football back. This is probably going to be their last opportunity to score and tie this game up. So they got to make it count. And they got some calls down the stretch. There was a bad horse collar penalty called on LaRon Landry on Shady McCoy as he was running the football. He tackles him from behind. Looks like it's in the backfield too. Might be a 1 or 2 yard loss. Instead, turns out to be a 15-yard penalty, which keeps that drive alive and gives them an automatic first down. Didn't really agree with the call, but it is what it is. Then you get a 51. And look, even after that, you still had a chance to play defense if you're the Colts. Don't cry over spilt milk. Just clean it up. And you had an opportunity to get off the field, and instead, you give up a 51-yard screen to Darren Sproles that gets the football down to the 6-yard line, and then Jeremy Maclin gets in on a 6-yard TD toss from Nicholas Foles. So you had opportunities to get off the field. You had opportunities to get stops, and you just didn't in the second half. 3 touchdowns scored by the Eagles in the second half, and some of them aided by the officials, some of them not. Does not matter. At the end of the day, you needed to get stops, and you did not. And Darren Sproles really was your worst nightmare in this game. He really was the player of the game. He was the guy that initiated a lot of the points being scored by the Eagles, whether it's a 55-yard catch and run, whether it's a screen, a 19-yard pinball run into the end zone, whatever the case may be. He was the one doing a lot of the damage for this Eagles offense, and you could not contain him all night long. Now the score is tied up at 27. Here's where that conservative play calling that I alluded to earlier comes into play. And the Colts get the football back. Ample time for the Colts to go down and win this football game. And not even give the Eagles back the football with a chance to win. Ample time for them to get in the field goal range, bleed the clock, win this game on a late second field goal, and go home happy. Instead, they come out. Andrew Luck, look, this is why he's your franchise guy. This is why you spent the number 1 overall pick on Andrew Luck. This is why you went out and got Hakeem Nicks. This is why you drafted 2 tight ends in the same draft. This is why you got all of those weapons right here for situations like this. Not to hand the football off on first down, hand it off a second time after first down was unsuccessful, to hand it off a second time and then put Andrew Luck in a 3rd and long situation and ask him to go make a play. That's not how you're supposed to operate. If he's the guy that you think he is, and we all know that he is, you give him the football on first down and say, all right, go get him. Go get him, Andrew. If not first down, definitely second down. You don't put him in a 3rd and long situation and say, all right, bail us out, please. And of course, Eagles send a blitz. They've been sending those A-gap pressures all game long. He has to move off of the spot. He's hit. Ball is underthrown. They have to punt. And you kind of knew after those series of events and after those series of plays and the way that they unfolded, the Eagles are getting the football back. They didn't have to waste any timeouts. They got 3 and out. They got the momentum after just scoring a touchdown. You had to know that the Colts had just sealed their own fate in this game with the bad play calling. And again, I just thought that they would throw the ball a little bit more in this game, and they really relied heavily, and to me, too heavily, on the ground attack, and it came back to bite them at the end. Eagles get the football back after the 3 and out by the Colts offense. 26 to Zach Ertz, who had a very good football game. Quietly, Zach Ertz, about 4 catches, over 80 yards. He had a stellar game, did Zach Ertz. So he gets this drive kicked off. Then Sproles again, 19 yards to set up a 36-yard Cody Parkey field goal, and the Colts tried to ice him. They called a field goal. He knocked it home the first time. After the timeout, he comes back on the field and knocks it home again. Everybody drive home safely as the Philadelphia Eagles, for the second consecutive week, go after the halftime break down double figures, score 3 or more touchdowns to win in dramatic and thrilling fashion, 30-27. Great come from behind win by the Eagles again. You're living dangerously if you're the Philadelphia Eagles. You do not want to practice falling behind. It's not a good way to live. However, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If you're the Eagles, just continue scoring points. Whether it comes in the first half or the second half, doesn't matter. If you're scoring 30 points every week, you're going to find yourself on the winning end of most ball games. And that's just the end of the discussion. Whether you score 24 of them in the second half and you sleepwalk through the first half, really that doesn't matter. That's a moot point. As long as you're scoring 30 points, you're going to win a lot of games in this league. You scored 34 in week 1, you turn around and follow that up with 30 more in week 2, both W's. You score 30 points in this league, you're going to find yourself winning a lot of ball games. It'd be nice if you could spread those 30 points out over the first and second halves and not find yourself in these deep holes and having to dig yourself up out of them, because every week you're not going to be able to do that. However, you've done it in the first 2 weeks. Just keep scoring points, and if you can take care of the football all the while, it'll make that journey a lot easier. Eagles get it done on the road. Very impressive. I did not see the Eagles going on the road and getting this one. I just did. And I think the Colts threw this game away, but the Eagles took it away from them in the same breath. I don't think this was a situation where the Colts gave this game away and they should have won. They should have won this game, but it's not because the Eagles didn't force the issue. The Eagles forced them into mistakes and turnovers and forced them off the field and got a 3 and out. The Colts had some bad play calling. They missed some opportunities, but that's nor here nor there. The Eagles won this game. Great win by the Eagles. Very disappointing loss by the Indianapolis Colts, especially being up 14 in the second half. That's disappointing to blow that kind of lead at home. So that's going to do it for the Monday night showcase. We'll take a quick break and wrap this episode on up.
Social media has taken off in ways that I couldn't have imagined, and thus I've taken the liberty to start being more active on social media. So like me on Facebook at In the Lab Room. Follow me on Twitter at In the Lab Room. You can also +1 me on Google Plus at Louie T. And also, of course, my main hub, subscribe to my channel on YouTube. That's youtube.com/In the Lab Room. These are all ways that I'm looking forward to interacting with you, the viewers, in the upcoming season of the Louie T Network.
So what have we learned in the first 2 weeks of the NFL season? I would love to tell you we've learned a lot. We've learned that the Carolina Panthers aren't going to relinquish this division without a fight. We've learned that the Cleveland Browns are nobody's pushover. We've learned that these teams that won their respective divisions or made the postseason last year aren't guaranteed anything. But if I were to tell you all of those things, if I were to tell you that the Buffalo Bills and the Houston Texans were for real this year, I'd be lying to you. We've learned nothing in the first 2 weeks. Don't fool yourselves, people. It's only 2 weeks of football. The Buffalo Bills look damn good right now. They could easily do what the Texans did last year. Speaking of the Texans, they've looked good in the first 2 weeks. But again, they've played Washington and Oakland in respective weeks. So you got to pump your brakes there a little bit. And keep in mind that the Texans won 2 games last year and then proceeded to lose 14 straight to wrap up the season. Anything can happen. It's very early. Remember, Carolina started the season 1-2 last season before running off 11 straight victories. Anything can happen after the first 2 weeks. You don't know what is happening. All we know is some teams are playing better than others right now. Some teams haven't even seen their home field yet. Nobody ever said the New Orleans Saints was a great road team. Nobody ever said that. Nobody ever confused them for the New England Patriots of the mid-2000s that won like 18 straight road games. Nobody ever said that. They're a team that thrives off of home field advantage and do just enough on the road to get into the show. Last year, they were 8-0 at home, 3-5 on the road. They can still do that. They haven't even been home yet. So before everybody pronounces the Saints dead and pronounces all of these teams who have started the season off 0-2, like the Indianapolis Colts, dead, before you do that, just remember the season is young. There's a lot of football left to be played. Before you start making erroneous assumptions, pump your brakes and just sit back and enjoy football. And so that's going to do it for this installment of In the Lab Room. I thank you for joining me. Come back and join me tomorrow as we do it again here on Wednesday. Remember, tomorrow features PDS, Pats, Daps, and Snacks, as well as my Soul Survivor for week number 3. Come back and join me. I'm 2 for 2 on my Soul Survivor picks. So come back and join me tomorrow as we have another great edition of In the Lab Room. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the Lab Room. Come back and join me tomorrow. It's going to be a lot of fun. I will see you then.